Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to build a simple and fun tic-tac-toe game using React.js with the latest version of White. We'll create a clean design, allow two players to take turns, detect the winner, highlight the winning cells, and even show a message when the game ends in a draw. By the end of this video, you'll have your own working tic-tac-toe game. So let's get started. First, let's start by writing the title for our game. Inside the return statement of our component, we'll add a heading tag. I'm using an h1 tag with a class name called title, and the text inside it will be tic-tac-toe. This will be displayed at the top of our game as the main heading. After the title, let's create the main game board. We'll start by using React's useStateHook to create a state variable called board. This board will be an array with 9 elements, all set to null at the beginning, one for each square in our 3x3 tic-tac-toe grid. Now, inside the return statement, we'll add a div with the class name board. Then, we'll use the map function to loop through each cell of the board. For every cell, we'll return a div. Each div will have a unique key using the index, and inside it, we'll display the value of that cell, which will be either X, O, or empty. This will visually create the 3x3 grid for our game. Now let's style our tic-tac-toe game. First, we reset the default spacing by setting the margin and padding to 0, and we use border box so that padding and borders don't affect the element size. Then, for the body, we apply the Roboto font to make the text look clean and modern. We use Flexbox to center the game both horizontally and vertically, and set the height to cover the full screen. The background has a nice diagonal gradient from purple to blue, with a smooth animation that keeps it slowly changing to make it look more dynamic and visually appealing. Next, we style the game container. We center all the content, set a maximum width so it fits nicely on different screens, and add padding inside to give it some space. The background is white with a slight transparency, giving it a modern glass-like effect. We also round the corners and add a soft shadow to make it stand out from the background. A blur effect is added behind it to make everything look smooth and clean. Finally, we style the title. The font size is made large so it grabs attention, and we give it some space below using margin. The color is dark for good visibility, and we add a glowing text shadow to give it a stylish look. To make the title more engaging, we apply a slow animation that gently changes the appearance over time. Now let's style the game board and each individual cell. First, for the .board class, we use CSS grid to lay out the board in 3 columns, one for each cell in a row. We also give it a small gap of 10 pixels between cells to separate them neatly. Below the board, we add some margin to give space before the next elements like messages or buttons. Next, the .cell class styles each box in the grid. We set a fixed width and height of 100 pixels so every cell is square. We use Flexbox to center the X or O inside each cell both vertically and horizontally. The font size is made large and bold with 3 rem to make the symbols stand out clearly. We give it a bright orange background to make it look fun and eye-catching. The border is slightly rounded with 8 pixels to soften the edges, and we add a pointer cursor so users know it's clickable. The transition property makes the animation smooth, and we add a soft shadow to give the boxes a slightly raised look. Then we style the .filled class, which gets added when a cell has been clicked. It changes the background to a lighter yellow and disables clicking by removing pointer events. We also add a slight zoom effect by scaling it a bit, which gives a nice animation when a cell is filled. Finally, we add a hover effect on each cell using .cell, hover. When the user hovers over a cell, it slightly zooms in to give a smooth interactive feel, making the game more engaging. Now let's add some logic to handle the gameplay. First, we create a few state variables using useState. The isXNext variable keeps track of whose turn it is. True means it's X's turn, false means it's O's turn. Then we have GameOver, which will help us stop the game once someone wins or it's a draw. We also set winner, which will store who won the game, either X or O. And finally, winning cells will store the indexes of the cells that make the winning combination, so we can highlight them later. Below that, we define all the possible winning combinations in a tic-tac-toe game. First, we define all the possible winning combinations in our winning combinations array. Since our board has 9 cells, each with an index from 0 to 8, we list out every combination where a player can win. For example, the first row is 0, 1, 2, the second row is 3, 4, 5, and so on. We also include diagonal wins like 0, 4, 8, and 2, 4, 6. Next is the handle click function, which gets triggered when a player clicks on a cell. Inside this function, the first thing we do is check if the selected cell is already filled or if the game is already over. If either of those conditions is true, we simply return and don't do anything. If the move is valid, we create a copy of the board using slice, and we update the clicked cell with either an X or an O based on whose turn it is. After that, we update the board using setBoard, and we toggle the turn using setIsks next. Finally, we call the checkWinner function and pass the updated board to check if this move leads to a win. Now let's look at how we display our game board and handle the end of the game. Inside our return statement, we have a div with the class board, and inside that, we use the .map function to loop through each cell in our board array. For every cell, we create a div and give it some dynamic classes. If the cell is already filled, we add the filled class to style it differently. If the game is over, we apply a game over class. And if this cell is part of the winning combination, we highlight it using the winning class. When the user clicks on a cell, it triggers the handle click function and updates the board accordingly. Inside each cell, we simply show the value, either X, O, or nothing. If the game has ended, we show a message. If there's a winner, we display X wins or O wins. If not, we show it's a draw. And finally, we show a restart button which, when clicked, resets the entire game using the restart game function. The checkWinner function is used to find out if someone has won the game. It takes the latest board, called newBoard, as input. Inside this function, we loop through each set of 3 winning positions from the winning combinations array. Each combination has 3 numbers, like 0, 1, 2, and we extract them as A, B, and C. Then we check if the same player, either X or O, is present in all 3 of those positions. If this condition is true, it means someone has won. So we set the winner using setWinner, highlight the winning boxes using setWinning cells, and stop the game by setting setGameOver, true. The return keyword stops the function after a winner is found. If no one has won after checking all combinations, we then check if the board is full. That means there are no null values left. If the board is completely filled and no one has won, we know it's a draw. So we set setGameOver, true, to end the game. Now the restart game function is used when the player clicks the restart game button. It resets everything back to how it was at the beginning. First, it clears the board by filling it with null. Then it sets the current player to X again. We also clear the winner, set the game over to false so the game can continue, and remove any highlighted winning cells. This gives the user a fresh board to start a brand new game. This part of the CSS styles how a winning cell should look. When a player wins the game, the 3 boxes that form the winning line will get a green background color using .cell.winning. The text inside the winning boxes becomes white to ensure it's visible and looks good on the green background. An animation called PulseWin is added, which gives the winning boxes a soft bouncing effect. This makes them look a bit bigger for a second and then return to normal, creating a glowing or attention-grabbing effect. There's also a green box shadow added around each winning cell to make it shine and look more attractive to the player. Now the @keyframes PulseWin animation is defined below. This animation describes how the winning box should behave visually. At the beginning of the animation, 0%, the box is at its normal size and has a small glowing green shadow. At the halfway point, 50%, the box grows slightly bigger using scale, 1.2, and the green glow becomes brighter and wider. Then at the end, 100%, it goes back to the normal size with a lighter glow again. This gives a nice pulsing or bouncing effect that makes the winning boxes stand out and feel exciting. This CSS is for the message that shows when the game ends, like X wins, or it's a draw. Font size, to rem, makes the message text big, so it's easily noticeable. Font weight, bold, makes the letters thicker, giving the message more importance. Margin top, 20px, adds space above the message so it doesn't stick to the board. Color, number 222, sets a very dark gray color to the text, making it clear and easy on the eyes. Text shadow, 0010px RGBA, 0.5, adds a soft glow behind the text to make it pop. This glow is smooth and gives the message a nice highlighted look. Animation, fade in 1.5s ease in out, makes the message slowly fade in when it appears. The fade in looks smooth and attractive instead of the message just suddenly appearing. This style is used for the Restart Game button that shows up when the game ends. Padding, 10px 20px, adds space inside the button, 10px on top and bottom, 20px on left and right, so the text inside isn't cramped and the button looks comfortably big. Font size, 1.1 rem, makes the button text a bit bigger than normal, so it stands out clearly and looks nicer. Background color, -36p3c6, gives the button a light bluish background, which looks fresh and clean. Color, white, makes the text inside the button white, so it contrasts well with the blue background. Border, none, removes any default border around the button, giving it a modern, flat look. Border radius, 5px, makes the corners of the button slightly rounded, which feels softer and more user-friendly. Cursor, pointer, changes the mouse cursor to a pointer, hand symbol, when you hover over the button, which clearly shows it's clickable. Transition, background color 0.3s ease, makes the background color change smoothly when you hover on it, instead of instantly switching. Margin top, 15px, adds space above the button, so it doesn't touch the game message and has breathing room. Box shadow, 04px 10px RGBA, 0.2, adds a soft shadow under the button, making it look slightly lifted and more clickable. Hover state for the restart button. Restart button, hover, background color, hush to a 8p94. This line changes the background color of the restart button when you hover over it. The color changes to a darker blue, hush to a 8p94, signaling to the user that the button is interactable. Active state for the restart button. Restart button, active, transform, scale, 0.98. This line applies a slight shrinking effect when the button is clicked or pressed. The scale, 0.98, makes the button look like it's being pressed, giving users a satisfying physical interaction. The at keyframes background animation rule defines an animation that changes the background gradient of an element. At the start of the animation, at 0%, the background is a gradient going from a purple shade, hush 611 cb, to a blue shade, hush 2575 fc. Then, at 50% of the animation, the gradient changes to a different set of colors, with a darker purple, hush 80 to day2, and a deeper blue, hush 400e0. Finally, at 100%, the background transitions back to the original gradient. This creates a smooth, continuous cycle where the background shifts between two color schemes. The @keyframes title animation rule creates an animation that changes the text shadow of an element, making the text appear to glow and change intensity over time. At the beginning of the animation, at 0%, the text has a subtle shadow with dark colors. The shadow is applied in 3 layers with increasing blur, each using a black color with a slight transparency, giving a soft glow effect around the text. At 50%, the text shadow becomes brighter and larger, with a white glow replacing the black. The glow is more intense, making the text shine as it grows. Finally, at 100%, the shadow returns to its original dark and soft state, completing the cycle. This creates a glowing and pulsating effect for the title, making it look more dynamic and attention-grabbing. The @keyframes fade-in rule creates a simple fade-in animation. At the start of the animation, 0%, the element is fully transparent with opacity 0, meaning it is invisible. As the animation progresses, the opacity gradually increases. By the end of the animation, 100%, the element becomes fully visible with opacity 1. This creates a smooth transition where the element slowly fades into view, rather than appearing suddenly. Now, you can see how the Tic Tac Toe game is working, and I'm showing you the output. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you learned how to build this. If you want to add any styling or make changes, feel free to do so. You can always customize the styles and make it your own.